Welcome to Bridge to Local with Affinity Group, the podcast that connects manufacturers to local operators. With deep industry experience and a proven track record of successful partnerships, Affinity Group is your bridge to driving growth and seizing opportunities in food service. Let's build success together, one connection at a time.
Welcome back to your Bridge to Local. I'm your host, Mindy Kopacz, and today we're digging into a topic that every manufacturer should have on their radar: limited time offers, or as we all know and love them, LTOs. LTOs have always been a tool to spark excitement and drive traffic, but in today's competitive food service landscape, they're becoming something more. A powerful way for manufacturers to introduce new products, test menu concepts, and gain real-time feedback before committing to a full launch. So how can manufacturers maximize the potential of an LTO? What does an operator actually need in order to make one successful? And what happens when an LTO takes off and becomes more than just a limited time idea? Joining me today to unpack these questions are two people who know this world inside and out. Together we'll explore how LTOs can be more than just a flash-in-the-pan promotion and instead become a launchpad for long-term innovation and stronger partnerships between manufacturers and operators. So let's go.
Alan Britz, Britz Food Group.
And Jimmy Benner from Lactalis Culinary.
Thanks so much for coming back, Jim. We're glad to have you.
I'm thrilled to be back. And for those that didn't listen to the last one I was on, I highly encourage you to go listen about culinary sales in the food industry.
It was a fun one. Before we dive into our topic today of LTOs, I'd love to hear from both of you. When you hear the term LTO, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Coming out of culinary school, they really didn't talk about LTOs, right? They just taught you how to cook or run a kitchen. Didn't really hit me until later on in my career when I got onto the selling side, trying to consult restaurants and chefs on how to beef up their business. And I was taught about these limited time offers. As a chef, we called them specials on a daily, but this was more of a long-term commitment to try and generate excitement around a new brand or a product or a menu concept. And that's what really, was my first time hearing about an LTO.
From the sales side.
Correct.
What about you, Alan?
Coming from the non-culinary side, from the sales guy side, it's a totally different thing. I look at more from the consumer side, right? Because we go to a lot of these restaurants, and I think it's low-risk innovation for chain accounts, right? You've done something, you've already done with a lot of the ingredients, and it's just kind of reinvigorating your brand and your name out into the public with something different to try to drive traffic. So,
what is an epic LTO that you've seen that got you super excited or had you perk up in interest or grabbed your attention? It doesn't have to be recent. It could be just one from the past.
So I can't use Arby's steak bites that
you
we
can.
had this
You
morning
totally
for
can.
breakfast. For us, and oddly as it was Chili's. Because, Chili's was synonymous with our industry as we all grew up. Well, all of Jim and I, 80s, 90s. And Chili's was a big brand with Fridays and Bennigan's and all those brands, right? And our family stopped going to Chili's for a bit just because we'd lost interest in it. And when they came out and there became this buzz with the triple dipper and the 3 for me, we're like, you know what? The buzz was social media. And we talked about that, right? Yeah. All of this social media buzz where people are like, hey, you know what? It's time to go try Chili's again. It's time to go look at this. And we did it. And you go in and you're like, all right, it feels different. It's busier. And for me to see that and kind of to feed into that social media buzz was really different for us. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's good. It's affordable. It fits a niche. And, you want to see those brands that you grew up with do well. Right? We don't want to see those brands go under or struggle. And so to see that and then to back it up with the social media buzz was something exciting. And, we've seen a lot. Like we see Chipotle do things, but Chili's for me was kind of one of those ones because it was a brand I grew up with as a kid in Ohio.
I have a personal affiliation with the Chili's mozzarella pool with all that social media. We actually have them as a great client. But I look back, I don't know, it's got to be 15, 20 years. And not that I was so excited about it, but I watched what it did. And that's the Pumpkin Spice Latte that Starbucks pulled off as like the first intro of this pumpkin spice craze. And then everybody else piled on. And now it's almost like People were waiting for that pumpkin spice availability at Starbucks, right? And people went crazy over it and still do today. And a lot of people copycat it, which is normal, right? They want to keep with the big boys. I think that was really one that was a craze.
That one went like everywhere.
Everywhere.
Right? Like a car air freshener, pumpkin spice,
Everything.
or
Unbelievable.
yeah, dog food, pumpkin spice.
Yeah. Now, personally, not my favorite. I'm just a black coffee guy, but a lot of people really went after it. College campus, food dining, other chains, bakery shops, like boom, it took off.
That one is very closely tied to a seasonal pull. How often is that tie related? How often are LTOs just kind of, hey, we have this, we want to sell more of this? Is there a formula?
Hashtag McFlurry, right?
Yeah.
Like these large chains and corporations, their marketing is brilliant. They have data. They know their demographic. They can time these things so well. And the selling cycle for a chain or to do an LTO it takes a lot of time. But those that click seasonality-wise, they know what they're doing, and they'll tee it up perfect for a successful launch or relaunch.
Alan, can you talk to me a little bit about the selling cycle of a national account before we dive back into LTOs? What is the timeline like?
And Jim attests to this. God, it's between 12 months, 18 months to never.
Yeah.
And I hate
With a
to
hope
throw
at
in
24.
Right. But I hate to throw in the never. But we're in an industry of change right now, where people are changing, and marketing's changing, and industry changing, and like we said today, the economy's changing. Today we get a thing from Starbucks that we talked about with the Starbucks doing the protein this and protein that, right? So if that's not on your radar for 12 months from now, and it turns into the next Atkins diet or keto diet or whatever, people are going to jump on that trend and switch it out. Jim just said something super important, right? That at the end of the day, when you look at pumpkin spice or you look at these things, they are seasonal. Right. And all this seasonality, but trends are just as important as seasonality. And, we're looking at, God, this crazy world of change and crazy world of what's next. Right. And it just keeps changing. But I said people because when a chef leaves, if you're talking about the full selling cycle of a chain, if your chef leaves and you're halfway done with the project, or marketing changes, or any part of your thing changes in that year or that really critical first 8 months into your first testing, you have to start over half the time. And if you guys look at LinkedIn and you look at all these changes, and if you're following me on LinkedIn, right, you see that I post a lot of jobs because some of these companies reach out to me because I've got a good amount of followers.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, I think I lost 8 chefs in the last month. And a lot of my projects are paused.
Right.
Right? And you're like, dang, we're halfway down the road. And you hope that new chef wants to come in and kind of pick that up and go, okay, that was a really good idea. And marketing has your back. And at the end of the day, though, nothing's going to happen quicker than 12 months in national accounts.
We call it the three-legged stool. If you're going to approach a chain, a national chain, or a regional, well put together regional chain, there's 3 gatekeepers. You have culinary, you have marketing, and then you have supply chain. And you better have relationships with all 3 of those key gatekeepers. And it's like spinning plates with sticks. You got to keep all those plates spinning all different times. Because even if you get culinary on board and it fits their menu application operationally, marketing, and we got to talk about data and intel and how do you approach these. We got to spend some time there.
Yeah.
You get marketing on board with what's coming. We spend a lot of money in data to bring forward to be a strategic partner. And then you have supply chain, who could kill the whole deal. If it's not available, the word availability is in this conversation the whole time. So manufacturers better have product available, ready to go to market, in distribution or within a redistributor, because that's a question that's always asked, is can I get this at XYZ redistributor? That 3-legged stool is really the selling approach to a chain.
Well, and we talked about the culinary innovation part, right, and the distribution side. But that big part that we get asked for a lot, and Jim, you do too, is I want something that's already in stock. Mm-hmm. And I want it to be in stock at Dot or here or here or here, because we don't want to be on the hook for the inventory.
Right.
We don't want to be on the hook for any part of this. It's us coming to the consumers and going, okay, we have something that we think is on trend, the data essential data, all the background of it. And at the end of the day, we're looking at that and going, we think that, we can fit your menu with this, this, and this. And we have Chef Chris on our team.
Right.
They can really kind of enhance that. So that's why we really went Culinary is a part of our team, right? Because that's important. But we know that purchasing can kill it at the end of the day because they can go, well, we can't afford it.
Right.
And then you're 2/3 or a third of the way down the road, and they're like, oh, that's not going to fit the menu cost.
And if you're out of market, or that's the term, out of stock, but out of market, and that LTO is not being 100% filled by the manufacturer, good luck trying to earn their business back ever, because they have good memories. So you have to stay at 100% fill rate, product availability. It's the big chains, there's no patience for failure.
Zero.
So that brought up something that I hadn't thought of before. For national chains, for their standard menu, they have a lot of custom formulations,
Very
right?
much, yeah.
For their own products. But for LTOs, they're not looking so much for custom solutions. They're grabbing more things that are stock that anybody can grab just because of the risk factor and because it's only a limited time offering?
Yes and no, Mindy. Honestly, we always like to push what we make first because we're high production, efficiencies, all those things. A lot of chains do want some customization work. Some manufacturers are very good at that and have the capability, flexibility. Some aren't. It might require a line extension, meaning a different pack size, but the formula of the product is the same.
Right.
So we can work on that. And it takes time and speed to market. Big companies, it's like turning an aircraft carrier around. It takes time. So the quicker and better and efficient, cost effectively, you have success rate. Those that stumble and delay or whatever could be a problem. But, efficient wise for manufacturing, you want to sell what you make.
Right.
And make it well and deliver it well. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Well, none of the chains want to bring in 6 new items for one LTO.
Correct.
Right. They're going to work with a protein that they already have a lot of times. They're going to work with their core menu. And honestly, we don't want to forget that your back of house has to be able to execute it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because labor is a challenge. Right. So when you look at back of house and you look at everything that's involved in this whole process, you're really keeping it simple. But you might be adding, Chipotle added the spice, right, to their chicken and go, hey, new product. Because it was.
Right.
But it was only adding a spice to it.
New
But
flavor
that
profile.
Yeah.
killed it.
It's an extension.
Right?
It's a menu extension. And, a good sales professional should know that client's menu inside and out and make suggestions and with cross-merchandising of existing products. But, of course, with manufacturers launching something new, and you want to give, a big push to market, then you present with, I used to call them Jeva. Did you ever think about this? Did you ever think about that, right? So did you ever think about this menu idea using this new product we're launching with coexisting products within your pantry that will work in your operation? And that's where then our culinary team supports it, presents it, ideation, testing, sampling, our kitchen, or, in their operations if we're allowed. So the selling is so complex in a chain. It's very different than approaching an independent restaurant up and down the street.
And the key parts of that is testing.
Totally.
And you have to test it. And 10 years ago, before we had to put nutritionals on the menu, when it was easier to add an LTO, right? Because you didn't really have to have all the nutritional backup, and there wasn't as much in the guideline part of it. So as we look at that now, doing something like that and even adding the menu filler to it, you have to do a lot of work on that. That's why that timeline keeps pushing out and pushing out. A lot of our customers are booked out through 2027, which sounds weird to say because it was just 2000 in my head.
Right.
But
And testing, before it even gets in a kitchen or on a plate, it's concept testing.
mm-hmm.
So we invest with certain technology and data companies, and we'll sit down with a chain, key personnel, marketing, culinary. We'll keep supply chain over until they're ready to buy, right? Hopefully. But we'll present 15 concepts, and they'll cherry pick 3 or 4. And then we send that back to our data friends, and then they'll do online surveying, presenting the concept, and getting a survey feedback of which would you buy, why would you buy or why wouldn't you buy? And then we can come back to the client and say, of 1,000 people, these are the top 3 or 2 that they thought they would be interested in buying. And that hopefully then drives the concept into the first true test evaluation in their kitchens.
Well, and the larger the chain, a lot of them have already done that work.
Right.
Which is awesome for us because they've kind of pared it down.
We're providing that service to a lot that don't have it.
Right. And that's why we have these tools that we have. And that's really, like you said, a key selling point of that going, we can supply the data. We can give you what's trending and what's hot. And at least you can start to work within those guidelines with your culinary team, our culinary team, Jim's culinary team, and we all work together on that. And it does ease the process somewhat. Like I said last night, we talked a lot about what's driving on social media. And these trends are crazy right now.
Yeah, the mozzarella pull by Chili's is just insane. I'm in the cheese business.
The cheese was beautiful in that, Jim.
Well, thank you very much.
That's what drew me. That cheese pull drew me to going to Chili's.
I don't know if you ever saw the feta craze with the roasted tomatoes and feta that you bake with olive oil.
Yes.
That went so insane. And a lot of it was consumer. And I know we're talking chains, but now we have chains that are looking at that concept and saying, how can we work with you on feta to create the next, whatever that was called, that feta bake. Our company, we built another feta factory because our feta sales are going through the roof.
And they've maintained the sales.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's crazy. That's a conversation starter, right? Did you ever see the feta craze? And then ding, the light goes on, the bell rings.
The last time you were here, Jim, we talked a little bit about that with Chef Derek in that as an independent, he's a little bit more nimble. He can react more to a social media craze by throwing, and I don't mean to minimize what he's doing, but throwing a new pizza flavor profile to match
He could run a
happening.
30-day special or whatever and see if it's
right,
worth
with no commitments and not a lot of risk. But the chains don't have that. They can't see Dubai chocolate on TikTok and then instantly create a Dubai chocolate shake the next week, right? They just cannot pivot that quickly.
No, there's too much at stake, and operationally, can they execute well, right? If you're going to do it, you got to do it right.
Right.
So the evaluation process and leading up to a launch, you got to be like a Terminator walking in as a selling professional. You got to be a Terminator, and you scan up, down, left, right, looking at their kitchens, looking at their equipment, knowing the capabilities. If you have a culinary background, it makes it a lot easier for a guy like me. But for others, at least have a true understanding of the back of house. And then go back to the pantry, go back to the menu, existing product. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, and on that Dubai chocolate, right, because it was a craze. It is a craze. We're in the middle of it right now. But not everybody can afford Dubai chocolate.
Tell me about it.
And we did have some people reaching out to us and going, hey, we're interested in doing something with Dubai chocolate. And we're like, okay, we'll get you the nuts and bolts of it. But then they saw the price and they're like, we're not that interested in Dubai chocolate, but
a variation of it.
A variation of it, yeah, right? Like maybe London chocolate, but, something different, but not Dubai. But it does, I went into Ghirardelli and tried the shake that they did with it. And yeah, it was super good. It was $21, but yeah, it was super good. But how many of our chain accounts are going to get $21 for a Dubai chocolate?
It's not happening.
Shake.
No,
right.
It would be a knockoff at best.
Right. And I don't know if there's a lot of knockoffs for that yet. There's a couple, but, that's that secondary market where you're creative.
And some of those trends are going to have different price points, different luxury.
Absolutely.
Right?
No doubt.
A Cheesecake Factory could probably pull it off in some way, but they're going to make it shareable.
They're going to compromise in some aspect of it.
Right. But, they were selling like crazy that day that I was at the Ghirardelli store. And I'm like, interesting.
All right. So some LTOs work and they take off like a rocket ship and others flop and they don't really get off the starting gate. What are some that didn't make it off the starting gate? And we're not here to call anybody out, but why don't they get off the starting gate? Why do some fail before we can even really get a gauge on what's happening with them?
I have an example of one, but it actually was too successful. And what I mean by that is the LTO was all you can eat shrimp. And with all due respect, like, it crippled their company.
Right.
And the purpose of an LTO is to drive traffic, create excitement, re-energize, repurpose, all those positive things.
Yeah.
This one was a company killer. So you got to be really smart about what you pick. I think the ratio of success to fail is like 7 or 8 fail to 2 or 3 wins in general. And that's just my gut feel. The data is hard to really capture.
Sure.
But, 2 out of 3 make it out of 10. So there's a lot of failures out there. You talk to some operators, mid-level size chains, some of them are afraid to even talk about an LTO. They just want to stick with what they're doing and stick to what's good. But the ocean did call. It really hurt the company.
They're running out of shrimp.
Yeah.
But I'll throw this in there that then the ocean called back and they did it right. Yeah. Because then they did this whole crab boil, shrimp boil, and that drove traffic immediately, because it fit the brand. But so did the other one.
It totally fit.
Right.
It just
But
operationally didn't work.
Yeah.
financially just
Right.
didn't do well.
Right. And they were targeting that budget-minded consumer that really is going to take advantage of that. And that's why they don't work. If you target these budget people that really are coming in only for price, and they're not going to be repeat business, right? After the LTO is gone, they've kind of hit you up, and they're like, okay, we're out. Right? But now when you go back to doing what you do, you're not going to have as many flops. Like if I went in, and we were talking a little bit about olive oil, right? And if I'm going into a place where I'm not going to ever have olive oil in my coffee olive oil is not my driver, and I don't think it is for a lot of people outside of Italy.
Yeah, not in your core menu.
Right. But, when they were trying to push that and things like that, that didn't really fit, and you have to fit your brand. And yes, that fit. But then you look at some of these other ones where you're like, okay, am I going to go to brand X and go get this seafood special when they're known for everything pizza? Right. And that's where people they're trying to figure out what's next and how far can they branch out. And sometimes it's a reach, right? But it's kind of low risk. But you can also hurt your brand by doing that. So, we had the Arby steak nuggets today, right? And that is Arby's, we got the meats.
Right.
So they're playing with that brand. And I think it's pretty cool that they do that. And I think Arby's is usually a pretty good leader on what they're doing for that whole QSR section.
And they're going for the protein enhancement consumer that's trying to, lose pounds. And
They're talking directly to their consumer.
Absolutely.
And there's not a ton of education that needs to happen, right? You put steak in little smaller pieces in a dish. People know exactly what that is. You put olive oil in something or you label it as oily, whereas something I'm not expecting to be oily, and all of a sudden I'm like, might be a leap too far for me to make on my own, right?
But Arby's is a good one to look at. But, if you look at some of the top LTOs for QSR, I think Wendy's had some of the top ones. Burger King did their maple burger. Yeah. That was a huge hit. It drove traffic to Burger King.
So McRib was another one that was kind of has a cult following,
An
right?
absolute cult following. People look forward to that launch. I don't know when the timing is. I do think that they tried to tweak the recipe a little bit or add a little extra zest to it, and there was a big pushback.
Right.
The McRibbers out there really love it just the way it is. So McDonald's went back to what it is.
I remember that one too on the Osbournes, which tells you the kind of TV I sometimes watch. But it was a quote from there, and they were like outraged that it was gone, and then joyous when it came back and it became this thing that people were like celebrating in social media hashtags and stuff.
Well, that's the other side of LTOs, right? So we say that LTOs are always new innovation, but they're also things that worked in the past where we know that we can run this in this quarter or this 13, 12-week segment, and we're going to drive volume because people liked it the first time.
Absolutely.
And it's a safe bet for them. They've already done it. Nothing's changed. They kind of know the cost parameters, and it's a safe win.
It's creating curiosity for those that never tried it. Like, oh, it's back. And look at all these people who love it. Right? Now, as a chef, I never ran out of food. I always sold out because that says it was so good. Everyone
That's right.
bought it, right? So perception becomes reality.
And marketing plays a huge piece in all of this.
So, yes, marketing is critical to this three-legged stool.
Let's talk about that for a second. Beverage LTOs. I know, like, my favorite one is Shamrock Shake. My son and I get it every year, right?
Right.
It's a cultural thing.
It's my birthday shake.
But what, I'll think of you every time now.
Thank you.
But what are some other beverage trends? Are there alcohol trends? Are there mocktail trends? Are there kids menu trends? I think Chick-fil-A does like a flavored lemonade one every summer.
I'm going to go to the adult side of the beverage.
I'll do the mocktails.
Okay. And I have friends in the wine business, and I believe the wine sales are down because bourbon sales are way up. Like, bourbon's sexy.
Totally.
And bourbon, there's so many bourbons out there. You go to a medium-sized chain that's wine-centric, of course they're going to push their wines, their varietals. But now, up behind the bar, there's a beautiful case of bourbons to choose from. Wherever you sit down today, what do they hand you first? A drink menu,
Right.
not the menu.
Right.
Right? They're pushing the beverage sales. And if you get really good bourbon knowledge people, and there's a lot of them out there, you could drive some LTOs that way for sure.
Absolutely.
And the premium or the profitability is crazy.
And people will go there for the...
I would say, yeah. I mean, I have a very particular wine shop, I don't want to say their name here, that is here that they're doing bourbons now too.
Well, on the flip side of that, the Gen Z people aren't drinking as much.
They're not.
And I get that, right? Because when you go out to a restaurant and you see these LTO drinks, right? And the alcoholic drinks, they're $20.
Yeah.
And it's that big. It's more than your entree. And the Gen Z people can't afford that a lot of times. They're doing this and they're doing that. We grew up with cheap booze and 3-for-1 happy hours, and drinking is expensive out. And I think the younger generation definitely does not drink as much. And thus why we're going to turn that into mocktails. And everything that's going on at Starbucks. And, number one on the menu, though, is for LTOs is alcoholic drinks. So they're pushing that because it is such a big profit center.
Sure.
And we all know that alcohol hasn't really increased that much in price, but you're going to take that and run with it because you got to make your money somewhere. But the mocktails have also grown, and that's such a big profit center there, too. Think about all the refreshers. Like, everything now is trending refreshers.
Yeah.
And
energy, right?
Energy.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The mocktail flavors and well, again, we look at the Starbucks today, right? Protein foam, protein this, and today was protein drink with an egg bite.
Egg bite, protein.
Brilliant, right? For all the people, like, you're hearing more and more again, protein.
Right.
Starbucks does amazing on capitalizing on that. And I don't drink a lot of coffee, but when I think of that, I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to have 50 grams of protein at breakfast and I can get it in a drink and an egg bite for $9.99, not a bad deal because these protein powders and all that is very expensive.
Yeah, they get brilliant minds up in Seattle.
But these energy additions, too, it's really still a big deal.
How are LTOs helping manufacturers introduce new products to customers?
Well, I mean, the whole intent there, from a manufacturer's point of view, when we're looking to do a line extension or a product launch, they're going to lean on my team with the chains because they want the machines running, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really important that we get those opportunities started with some chain restaurants to keep capacity. The plant's got to.
Yes.
The onesie twosies out in the world, we absolutely want them. The independent operators we love. We call them the mortar between the bricks. It holds it all together. Yeah. But I need those bricks to buy so that I can go to our marketing, our production planning team, our manufacturing team and say, we got this, let's go, and turn on the machine and start pumping out product. So that's why it's so important to get an LTO with the hopes of final menu placement that sticks.
Right.
That's the ultimate goal is to get that menu item placed permanently.
What's the ratio of success from having it start as an LTO to a permanent item?
It's not as easy as what you think.
Yeah, it sounds difficult.
It's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard.
And some of these are surprising because, I'd heard of one instance with a pretty large chain, right? One of the top 10. They ran their best numbers on an LTO, and it hasn't come back in 2 years.
What I wonder why.
And you go, okay, was it operations? But still, you ran your best numbers. Like, it was one of your top performing LTOs, but you can't bring it back. And it's got to be ops. Right? It has to be something along those lines where it was hard to perform for. And this isn't a chain known for food.
Where does the stickiness come from? When they stick, when they work? What's the magic formula? Is there one?
The classic P's, right? Product, placement, promotion.
You're right. It's, you just don't know.
Right.
You never know. And there's things that I thought was this massive home run, and it didn't fly. And it was because maybe, like we said about the steak nuggets, right? What if it was brisket? What if it was this? What if it was this? Marketing came up with that for a reason based on more data than the 6 of us have.
Right.
But they probably tried 10 different ways of doing it. But when I was with my family and we all saw the commercial, we're like, well, we want to try that. So what they did worked, and we'll see in the numbers, right?
Yeah. And I think this is a struggle of our industry, not just chains, but the shortage of qualified labor in the food service industry is so real. And you could have the best looking commercial that your family saw on TV last week and said, I want to try that. Let's go. And you go, and it's a big flop, disappointment. Why? Well, because, they didn't show up for work. We're short-staffed.
Yeah.
The equipment isn't working right. Whatever. I mean, there's so many domino ripple effects of fail in our industry. It's challenging. Operators are struggling on labor. So that's why we got to bring, I don't want to say idiot-proof, but I'll say idiot-proof products, easy to execute in a lot of ways for a lot of chains. Not all of them. That's not, and I'm a chef, and I know what it's like, the hire-fire situation.
Yeah.
It's a turnstile in a lot of it's just the way our industry is built, right? So how do you make it easy to execute? That's quality. Hits all the boxes we've been talking about for the last hour. So, but the fail rate, it's worse than we'd like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working with operators on these LTOs or any real menu items, and you're mapping it all out and it looks great on paper, how do you test it? Do you test multiple concepts of it? Do you test multiple variations to see, hey, we thought all-you-can-eat shrimp was a great idea, and it was. People do love it. Went. But oops, we missed this giant piece. How do you...
So I mentioned it earlier about using technology and internet and online and surveys to get just a person's thought process of yay or nay, right? So I think that's a step one. If you can afford to do that with the right customer. We don't do that for everybody. It's got to be the right customer, right? It gets very expensive to do.
Absolutely.
So that's one way. And then chef to chef, I think, is really important, right? Getting your hands dirty. I asked for 20 years to get a test kitchen. We finally got it, and it's gorgeous. And now we've brought chefs in from large chains, come into our environment, get out of yours for a day, come to us. We'll start at the dairy farm if we have to and learn the story of cheese making from farm to the fork. So farm, factory, fork. And then we might have 5 concepts, 10 concepts on the board, and the chef might like it, but say, I would like it this way. Let's try that. God willing, I got the ingredients right in my pantry or my cooler, and all of a sudden we're going down a different path. But that's okay.
Yeah, right.
That's what chefs do, right?
That's what artists do.
He wants it his way. Okie doke. Let's go that route. And like I say, suds up the water, create excitement, get it going, right? And that's a way to hopefully engineer a finished product. Does that make sense?
It does. And getting them out of their environment allows them the time and the thought process, I'm assuming, to be a little bit more creative because someone's not running in with another fire that they have to put out. Right?
Correct. I'd love to say, please turn your phone off too, because a lot of times they're in the corner, they're getting an email. If we could just shut these phones off for a little bit of our lives, maybe we'd have a better success rate. But yes, out of the environment, come to us. If he or she doesn't want to do that, all right, we'll load up. We're coming to you.
Right.
But we'll work with them on, let's just say we're talking pizza because we do a lot of that, right? Yeah. What's your sauce? What's your dough recipe. Send me your flour, I'll buy the flour. We'll make everything up to you, your standards, and then let's put my cheese on it. What type of oven do you have? Because we have to have different ovens, because in the pizza, there's different ovens.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
you got to have all this lined up. That's why, I want them to come to me.
Yes.
If possible. Come to me.
And hopefully we can do some collaboration on that in the future.
Right on.
So.
Let's go.
And we offer that too through our Affinity Group offices. We have test kitchens where we encourage operators to come in for that exact same reason. Like, just free yourself. Come in and play.
It's one of the great value adds that the Affinity Group offers is the amount of culinarians on staff and the amount of kitchens around the country. And that's one of the reasons why I hired you so long ago. You guys are great at it. It's really important.
And
here's your $10.
They're beautiful. I mean, Chicago, the Dallas.
They're all great.
The Vegas one, we've had some tremendous luck bringing customers in there.
Yeah, it is a point of reinvestment for 100%. Us. That we've
Absolutely. And it's hard to quantify it, right?
Right.
But it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's an investment into how we all do business and where we find success.
I'll share a couple things that we did some data, and I think they're really key points to the whole LTO process, right? And we pulled up some information on what are the trends right now. Okay, so what are customers looking for in national account trends? Spicy and salty flavor is number one, mashups. And sweet spicy mix, sweet salty mix. Profiles dominate, blending craveability with versatility. Gen X splurges 2 times more on them. Expect honey glazed wings or chili lime tacos, which we're seeing a lot.
Of course.
And what we were saying is if you look at the top 250 chains, these kind of brands have infiltrated the whole top 250, top 500. Where, Jim, you and I have done this long enough, where our top 200, 250 used to be kind of the same brands every year.
Right.
It didn't change. And I really sat down this year and I'm like, mine just going crazy going, wow, it has changed so much in the last 5 years.
Totally.
But, Swig. Have you been to a Swig yet?
No.
Super interesting concept, but they're in the top 300. And it's dirty sodas. They have pretzels and cookies.
Oh my God.
That's all they have as far as, but they're going to branch out into food.
Limited, right.
But you watch that brand, it will start to, they're working on
Dirty
some other
sodas.
LTOs, dirty sodas.
Yeah, because kids, what do they do at the fountain?
100%.
Sprite, Coke, whatever,
Yep.
Dr. Pepper, right? Mix it all up. Gross.
Throw some
they love
foam
it.
and a gummy bear in there. And
Yep.
You mentioned honey real quick. I used to make fun, not make fun. I used to say, I wonder what the honey, because I'm running around like a maniac in my life, right, in my job, and I'm like, I wonder what the honey guy does all day. It's got like 6 SKUs. Right. I got the tub, I got the little bear squeeze, I got the PC. What's his life like? Now the honey guys are busy.
100%.
I got some dear friends in the honey world, and they are booming with heat.
Congratulations, Mike's Hot Honey.
Right on.
You did a great job.
That's it. What's up, Frank?
You did. Yeah. I know.
It's crazy.
So trend 2 is nostalgia and nostalgic twists. Makes total sense. Modern spins on retro favorites. Right? You're not changing the wheel. You're adding something to it, just like a protein in a...
Or the new modern supper club.
Yep.
My dear friend Cameron Mitchell has home run this thing. He has brought elegance and quality around the country now.
Absolutely.
The old style supper club with modern cuisine.
And they're beautiful restaurants.
Stunning.
So, but yeah, it makes total sense. But it is a growing thing. Number 3, which just kind of talks on what we talked about, global fusion and multicultural blends.
Absolutely.
You see it everywhere, right? And you're starting to see it in C-stores even. So that has gone everywhere. I was in Dallas last week at Bonchon, and I looked at that menu. And they had, this corn dog that was like kind of super cool, but it had cheese in the middle of it. Didn't even have a hot dog in the middle. It was a beautiful pulling, could be Lactalis cheese.
It's funny that like the population's changing, demographics are changing.
Yep.
You have to stay up with the times to meet the consumer demand, right?
Yep.
That's classic marketing 101. And food offerings, 100. you got to stay in this game.
Number 4, health forward and customizable wellness. And we talked about that this morning.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I think, is going to shoot up the charts because the people that are out eating these items on LTOs are the ones like us that are getting, unfortunately, older, right? And you're looking at that health, and the ones that have money to spend on it are looking along those lines and going, we need to be healthy. We need to do this.
And policy's driving ingredient.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Sure. For all the right reasons, by the way.
So in the last one, last two actually, but this next one is a whole nother market. It's value-driven, seasonal, and digital bundles. And that is driving traffic. Wow. Not the right traffic always, but it is driving traffic.
So the app, buying on the app, right?
Yep.
I was trying to figure out the digital piece of that.
You're a member now. You're in the VIP club
and you're
on our app.
And it says right here, promoted via apps, e.g. $5 to $10 meals with zero proof drinks. But that is a whole nother market.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and
a drink with, a shareable or a bundle, a value proposition.
So number 6, inclusive, non-alcoholic, and shareable innovations. And that makes sense, right? That we know that that's always going to be really high on the board.
Speaking of boards, like we had approached about making shareable by a chain, like they want to create an environment where people are sharing, no more masks. They're just putting everyone together on a big table and shareable plates. What can we do with boards? Butter boards are really a big deal. And spreadable cheeses with the right, accompaniments, accoutrements to go around, right? To go around it. And the classic charcuterie board, how do you enhance that, right?
Right.
And make it very shareable. So, there's so much.
So if we wrap up, Jim, if you could give one piece of advice to manufacturers trying to sell an LTO to an operator, what would it be?
You got to be smart. I always tell my team, you're paid to think. So be smart in your approach. Never try to sell something to someone that they don't need or can't use. Strategic's a big word in my world. You got to be really smart about what's the offering, who are you talking to. You got to be talking to the right people, and it's more than one.
Yep.
And you got to have all your ducks in a row. Easier said than done, for sure. But you also have to be persistent with patience, but persistent, if that makes any sense. It's kind of an oxymoron, but you got to push. You got to have fire in the belly. You got to bring the idea to the right people with the right product.
At the right time.
At the right time and make it ready and available.
Alan, how would you answer that?
On the other side of it, I look at simplicity wins, right? You got to be able to know your customer, just like you said. You know what they can do in the back of the house. You know what they want to bring in, and you ask the questions, right? Hey, what are you thinking that fits your brands? You come back in with the data that says, here's why, and here's what should make you feel at ease in knowing that this should work for your company. On the manufacturer side, you do your homework, just like you said. You have the data. You make sure that it's operational ease. You align with the brand, and you just think through it, right? And at the end of the day, it's just got to fit, and you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not selling kimchi to a hot dog stand. Maybe you are, but at the end of the day...
That was a hard no from Jim, by the way. Hard no.
Right. Right. But people do that, right?
I love kimchi.
We've had people come to us and go, hey, we want you to push this to everybody. And it doesn't fit. So don't waste, Jim said it 5 times. Don't waste my time. Don't waste their time, right? Just stay on topic. You're not selling beef tips to a vegetarian restaurant.
Right. All right. Alan, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about using LTOs as part of your innovation strategy or part of furthering a manufacturer's innovation strategy?
The biggest lesson I learned is, even the slam dunks aren't slam dunks, that anything can happen, right? That as much as you think it could fit, there can be something along this 12 to 24-month route that totally changes the course of what you're thinking. So, we get asked to do projections and what's a percentage of, I've had so many 90% ones that we're done, right? We're in the final phases. And at the end of the day, something happens. So don't count the chickens before they hatch. Keep your eye on the ball and walk it through, because anything can happen. And we're in a business of change.
Yeah, that's so well said. Don't celebrate it till you get the order, right? I've had egg on my face before. Teed it up all the way to the finish line, and I can't get in the end zone. Like, really annoying. Also, as much as all the effort it took to get there and you win it, you could lose it in a New York second because of one mistake on our end, supply chain, execution, you name it.
Hey, price could go up.
Price goes up, market conditions.
Personnel changes.
Yeah.
There's
so many things.
Right. Like the arrows fly.
Yeah.
And if you're good at what you do, you have a target on your back. And I've had one for years, and the competition's watching what we do. You know, we tried to be industry leaders years ago in the categories to invest in the data, bring all that intel. And then 8 months later, you see they're launching without my involvement. Like, what happened, right? And that happens, and it's annoying. But unless you have absolute exclusivity, which we don't try to force on people.
Right.
So my learning here is stay patient, stay strong, lose your ego, continue to strive for success no matter what. And the people that are motivated and can put all that planning together. And relationships really matter in this business. Alan said 8 chefs that so they go to another location, they're going to remember that Alan's a good dude,
right,
and he's got a portfolio of products. And so the networking's so important here.
Yeah. I think I've said on almost every episode of this, we're in a relationship business that serves food.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? We're not really in a food business. We're in a relationship business.
But for the last hour and a half, like when before you were in the business, you would just go out to dinner, and most of my family and friends, they don't know how the cheese got there or the chicken got. They just
don't
order
even
it.
think of it, right?
They just want to know, can I order this entree, and is it going to be ready on time, cooked perfectly? There's so much behind the scenes. That's why our industry is so amazing and exciting and drive me nuts sometimes. But I love it, and fun. But it is fun.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. I look forward to having you back again.
It's been a blast, Mindy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy.
You've been listening to Bridge to Local with Affinity Group, where manufacturers and local operators connect for success. Stay tuned for more insights and visit affinitysales.com to see how we can help drive your business forward. See you next time.